I like that because we are speaking to responsibility because we cannot just blame other people for what is happening without looking at also where we have the responsibility. That is very, very important because otherwise we will never grow. All right,
Thank you.
now looking also on the possibility of networking, of connecting,
Yeah.
I'm seeing what can be the strategy now to connect people that are maybe across countries this time. Because now I want us to take a look at opportunity of the 21st century, the biggest opportunity probably in humankind, which is internet. Because now we connect. I'm talking in the next few fraction of seconds, you are hearing me. It had never
Right.
happened before. This is a huge opportunity. So how can we tap into this one as Africans in the diaspora? To network, to do businesses together. It doesn't matter whether you are in UK or you are in France. It doesn't matter if you are in Canada or you are in Beijing or you are in Berlin or you are in Addis Ababa or in Abuja.
Right.
Now, all of us are connected. How can we tap into this?
Okay. Well, I am a huge supporter of strategic planning. And strategic planning is why we were able to make money through COVID, because we had a plan in place in case we had a catastrophe that happened, that we had reserves, we had a plan B, we had resources that were already here so that we can keep going throughout the COVID. And that's a piece that I always bring up when I start talking about how we reintegrate the greatness of who we are. But that strategic planning has legs to it. There's different arms to this. There's different ways that we have to go about this. First of all, we have to understand the pros and cons of what we have. We have to learn who we are and be honest. Not just, my grandmother used to say, never marry hope. You don't marry a man that you hope is going to be this way and that way. You hope is going to have money. You don't marry hope. You marry who he is. And if you know who he is and you're still willing to marry him, you can't complain about anything that he possesses. So you have to go into this knowing who we are and what we are. As strategic planning has its pros and its cons. You have to know what it is you have, who it is that you are, and what it is that your goals are. And if you don't go into this with true transparency and a clear vision, you will always stumble upon things that will come up later on. So that's one, pros and cons, knowing who you are, being honest with yourself, and understanding what you're working with. The second thing is your vulnerabilities. Now, this one is where a lot of us lose integrity. We don't want to admit where we go wrong. We don't want to admit our humanness. We don't want to admit that we have holes in our business and our business plan. And we definitely don't want to know that those that we're networking with may not always be for us. They just may want to know what we're doing. And that's a vulnerability that a lot of us have. We think, oh, we're going to get in business with this company and that network and this and that. And we realize that they're really not a network. They're just a group of people just going around trying to find out what everyone else is doing. So when you call on them and they don't show up, you can't be mad at them because that's not what they were supposed to do. All they were supposed to do is find out what you're doing and then either go replicate it or try to circumnavigate it in some way. So you have to understand your vulnerabilities. Where are your weak points and what are you doing to strengthen that while you're going along? The next one is, what is your planning, your operational planning and your strategic planning? Now, why do I say that in that sense? Operational planning is your board members, your bylaws, your constitution. That is your operational planning. That has to happen in order for you here in the United States to even get registered in the United States. You have to have the bylaws, the board. You have to have your community involvement. You have to state your strategic planning for 3, 5, and 10 years. All of that has to be put up there before you can even be registered in the United States. But that's your operational planning. What is your strategic planning? So that means, what happens if your president dies? What's going to happen? What happens if your founder gets sick, which is what happened with me? I got sick. I got cancer right in the middle of us starting to deal with COVID. So what happened? So now you have to make sure that these things are in place, or at least what you're going to do is already in place before anything happens. That I'm going to take a leave of absence. Who's going to be in my place when that leave of absence is happening? And then what is their role? Because a lot of people, just like in governments, Somebody will step down and somebody will get in their place and they'll take off. They'll take off in the wrong direction, in the opposite direction, and they'll do what they want to do because they're in that place. So you have to make sure that even in your strategic planning, that there is a role that they play and that there are rules to this engagement. So you have to make sure the rules are set, that there's concrete and they're in your foundation. And the last thing that I think that is very, very important, and it's to maximize the odds that you will be successful, is that your brand is viable and growing. Your brand, who you are, is going to be the net worth of your network. A lot of times nowadays, the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, which is the organization that I am, it's UN and African Union recognized. And the things that we're doing now is inviting people in. We're inviting people to the table because we want this to be a conglomerate of world helpers. We want this network to be our net worth. So we want Save the Children in this. We want Oxfam in this. We want to have people at the table from UNICEF. We want to make this a global conglomerate so that everybody is able to filter and feed off of this and get a piece of this. And then we want FIRE to be the catalyst to bring all those people together. So FIRE now has a representation of bringing big numbers and big names to the table. So that is our integrity. That's our pedigree. That is the thing that we're going to bring forward. So FIRE is now the representation, and I wear it every day. I have this bracelet on that reminds, I don't even take it off. It's part of my jewelry now. And FIRE is the representation, the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. And I look at it every day to remind me that this is the brand that I want for people to see every day. I want them to see an aspect of brand and the momentum of the brand. I want them to see me in circles that are bringing people to the table so that the network can grow and the net worth can be a better adage to what we are as a company. So I think to answer your question is that we have to unify in this network so that the work can go forward and our net worth can grow with the strategic planning model.
Very important, that one. And of course, I would like you to speak also to the idea of gender equality, and particularly the fact that when we talk about the unification of Africans in the diaspora, the role of women is very important here. In fact, it's always important. They've always been important, whether you are looking at in Africa or in other community. So where do you see the role of women in this quest? Because our quest now is to unify the community or the family that is scattered all across the world. And how can you speak of the family without the woman? What kind of a family is that? So tell me, what is the role of the women here?
Okay, well, as I start off this with everybody in this platform, watching this live stream, seeing me on replay, every single person that will take a view of this or was involved in this production came from a woman. Now, some of them, oh, well, if it wasn't for a man, the woman wouldn't be able to do, okay, but they came from a woman. The idea behind it is to realize that we are denigrating the very thing that brought life forward for us. We are lessening. It's almost like saying, oh, thank you for birthing me. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. But you're no longer needed in my life anymore. That's what you say when you take the power, the right, and the responsibility of the woman away in how you treat them. You're saying that she was so powerful that she touched death, and just knowing biologically, the woman is closest to death when she gives birth to a child. The closest to death without the ruh or the spirit of God coming from her when she gives birth. And these are women that give birth to 10, 11, 12, 15 children. So each time she makes that sacrifice, we are saying to her, thank you. But then when we use her in a derogatory manner, or we lessen her rights, or we don't allow her access to go to school, or we take her out of school because she has a period, and we do all of these things that lessen her as a woman, we're taking away the ideology of what that woman went through to birth you. Some of us don't have a mother because she died giving birth to us. So she made the ultimate sacrifice. And these are the people that we are disrespecting in our society. These are the people that if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be a society. These are the people that we're disrespecting. These are the people that we don't allow to go to school because their role is in the household. Or you hear men saying, I don't want my woman educated. I just want her having my babies and staying in the house. Are you serious? So when you have a girl child, what are you going to tell your girl child? That the mother wasn't worthy of getting educated? So how can you validate her education? Or, which is even worse, the wife has to stay at home, but the daughter can be educated. What? That doesn't even make common sense, let alone logical or strategic sense. So we're so warped in this mindset, and I blame the European mindset, because if you remember back in African ancestry and history, the woman was the prize of the community. If you were, the only way that you can identify a person is based on the woman that they were born from. So every one of my daughters are a Fulani woman, although he was not of African descent. Their father was not of African descent. Each one of my children are Fulani women. Why? Because they came from a Fulani woman. So we identify the children based on the woman that they're from. It wasn't until we were westernized, we were colonialized, that now we have to take the father's name. And now the father's name is so synonymous with children. And then we even have to use it first when we have the name. The last name is first because that's the father's name. And we just got, what? We still come out of a woman. I don't care how big your letters are in your name and how big you personify the father's name, you still come out of a woman. So we have to remember where we're from and why we capitalize on what we capitalize on, because it helps us financially. And you remember, you went back to that point before when you spoke about why we have so many corrupt people around our money, because we allow it. We allow it. Men are important, yes, but they should not be the one that is seen as the best and the most and the God all be all. And no, it is a woman. Because if you don't marry a woman and don't have children, your legacy ends right now. And I say that, and men are shook. They're like, you know what, you're right. If a woman never gives birth to anything from your seed, your legacy ends with your death. And that is what is so strong when I give this message, that women have to be seen in a greater light, because someone decided to marry you and they decided to have your children. That means that they gave their ultimate sacrifice, a possible death, to keep your lineage going. And that's what we're seeing in society. But what you don't realize is, I don't care how colonialized you are. I don't care how much you want her to take your last name and have your children take your last name. They still come out of her. And she still owns that child no matter what. That's why when you divorce, the children go with the mother. Because you came out of you. Oh, well, they're my children. You know, you see the men, oh, they're my children. I want my children. But as soon as you get the children, what do? You send them to your mother. Because you know who the power really is held in. We are the first teachers. So whatever it is that you are in society, the children get it from us. You don't realize that we are our own superpower, but you want to take it over because you want to have some lineage. Come on. Just see us for who we are. We don't even want any power. We don't care about the name because you still came out of us. We don't care about the representation because you still came out of us. So what we want is for you to just recognize that we are who we are, and stop trying to take it away because you realize how powerful we really are. That's the only reason why you want to keep us uneducated and in the house, because you know how powerful we are. So you don't want us to be educated, informed, and wise. You can't have that because that's too much of a superpower. That's a blessed trinity if I haven't seen one. So you don't want us to be too powerful, because then you think we're going to take over. No, we don't want to take over. We already create. Why would we need to take over something we've already created? That doesn't make sense. So this is why we are standing strong on empowering the woman, because we're already powerful. We just need you to recognize.